Well, our weather the past week or so leaves absolutely no doubt. Winter season here in full force. Those of us who live near the Great Lakes are bundling up, but another season's underway as well, and it brings an economic bump to an area known as Steelhead Alley. That's a strip of rivers and tributaries along Lake Erie that span Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York. Great Lakes Today's Elizabeth Miller recently trekked to Pennsylvania to experience Steelhead Alley all for herself, and she joins us here now. You're back. No fishing clothes.
No fishing clothes
Okay.
this time.
So you went to Girard, Pennsylvania to talk about steelhead. Tell me about what's special about that area. What's a steelhead to start with?
All right, so steelhead are rainbow trout. They're a cold water fish known for their chrome-like color, and they're a trophy fish that really make you work to catch them, and that's really the appeal. These fish are strong and they fight. And usually the big seasons are spring and fall, but people do try to look for steelhead in Lake Erie in the summer. So steelhead are an interesting fish because they grow in the lake, but then they return back to the rivers and streams where they came from to spawn. And so Steelhead Alley is a strip of 14 rivers, streams, tributaries along Lake Erie. And they're in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York, as you said. And so I went out fly fishing in Girard, Pennsylvania with a guide service called Steelhead Alley Outfitters. And this was a group of guys that I went with, and there were 10 of them from out of state, from Delaware, Ohio, and Pennsylvania.
And they come here for the steelhead.
They came here just to catch steelhead. And one of the anglers I talked to, he said, you know, I'm from Delaware, I fish 12 months out of the year. The one fish we don't have is steelhead. We have to drive for steelhead. And they drove to Girard, Pennsylvania. So I got up at 6 a.m., or I got there at 6 a.m., went out and put on my waders and my boots, and we went fly fishing. And you know, one of the guides I talked to said that it's really easy to catch a fish in Steelhead Alley, and that's why people come here, because they know they can catch a fish in Ohio, in Pennsylvania, in New York. And that's really different compared to the places where steelhead is native, like the Pacific Northwest and Michigan, where Ohio steelhead are from.
Okay, yeah, so how do they get here? If they're native to Michigan, native to the West, but not native to us, how do they wind up in New York, Pennsylvania, and Ohio?
So Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York all decided many years ago, to start stocking steelhead as a way to provide a recreational fishery, get people outside. And especially in the winter, when some of our favorite outdoor activities, swimming, boating, aren't really possible anymore, there's always fishing. And so since 1975, Ohio has stocked steelhead, and just this year they stocked over 400,000 steelhead into the Grand River, the Rocky River, Vermilion, and a couple others in the region.
Looking at your pictures here, the water seems relatively low, and you said the fish are fighters. So that's a good battle there. But you said also that nobody eats them.
No, actually they don't. And so what the Steelhead Alley Outfitters really told me when I went out fishing with them was that they catch these fish, they take pictures with them, and then they just put them back, because since it's a non-native fishery, you have to sustain it and make sure that they're still there for the next fisherman, for the next angler.
Okay. Is it worth it, the states that have gone ahead and spent the money, stocked these fisheries, is it worth it to us financially?
So that's the question I set out to answer with my story, because the money it costs to stock steelhead, in Ohio, it cost upwards of $500,000 in the past to stock these hundred thousands of steelhead. And so I wondered if it was worth it. And so after speaking to guide services and some other people and retailers in the Steelhead Alley area, the answer is yes. There are guides that are able to make a full-time career out of guiding these steelhead trips, and Steelhead Alley Outfitters, the group I went out with, they lead 200 trips, and that's just between September and December. And a lot of out-of-state people too coming into this area. There was a Pennsylvania study, a survey, that showed that over 200 jobs are supported by this Steelhead Alley industry. I also spoke to a guide service in New York at Cattaraugus Creek, and they have 2 cabins that are fully booked up all winter, each winter.
Wow.
So it's a surprising industry in the area, and you wouldn't really think out-of-state people coming in to Ohio and New York and Pennsylvania just to go fishing.
But it's working.
It's working.
Okay, I'm not going to ask you if you caught anything. We'll save that for later. Okay,
Right.
Thanks, Elizabeth. This story comes to us as part of Great Lakes Today. That's a reporting collaboration of WBFO Buffalo, IdeaStream Cleveland, and WXXI Rochester.